Hello everyone, welcome to the Evil Empire. I'm your host, Evil Empire, and this week on the Historic Weekly feature, we have Blue-White Control. And this one in particular is working with a one-of copy of Approach of the Second Sun as an alternative win con, something that we can use to win the game if needed. But this is really mostly for fun, and I don't think Approach really belongs in the most competitive build of this deck. And to be honest with you as well, the most competitive build of Control right now is probably in the Bant colors using Uro and Growth Spiral and ramping up pretty quickly. So we'll see that this deck can do a little bit of the same thing, but mostly this is a worse version of Bant Control. But it's something that I enjoy playing and I'm going to mess around with today on the video. So let's start with the reason for choosing this deck. So in essence, this deck had a soft ban on it when Field of the Dead was in the format, because this deck simply cannot handle Field of the Dead. There's no way to continually wrath the board enough to be able to compete with Field of the Dead. So it's a choice that's available to us now that Field of the Dead is gone, and so we saw a lot of streamers playing this earlier in the week, although many of them moved to Bant Control. This list in particular was inspired by Gabriel Nassif, or Yellow Hat, on Twitch, his Blue Light Control list. He in particular, it made some very creative choices that I really enjoyed, and so I wanted to copy them into my version of the deck, but also put a little bit of a spin on it. And I think his exact quote from one of his his Twitch streams earlier this week was, he might put Approach of the Second Sun in Blue-White Control just to get out of his system. So here we're going to get it out of our system as well and just kind of have some fun with the card. It's a bit of a silly one. So let's go to some of the unique choices about this deck that might make it a little bit different from some of the other Blue-White Control decks that you've seen in the format. We're certainly still running 2 Narset and a number of Teferi. We'll get to the exact reason for running 3 in a moment. But the differences with our deck, first of all, we're running 4 Pact of Negation, which I think is a very underplayed card in Historic right now. It's extremely powerful as a 0-mana counterspell, and it's not counter target non-creature spell, it's any spell. So you can easily target a creature, planeswalker, anything you want with this. The thing that some people were doing earlier in the format was to pair this up with Gideon of the Trials. Pact of Negation is a bit of a combo with Gideon of the Trials emblem. Like, you don't have to pay the 5 mana at the beginning of your upkeep if you happen to have a Gideon Planeswalker and an emblem around. And this was a bit of a silly thing, but it's not really the main reason for playing it in the deck. Most of the time we pay the 5. We'll get to Gideon in a moment, but that's just kind of a bonus. That may happen at some point just randomly, but we're not really aiming for that. We're aiming to pay the 5 and take that next turn off and maybe hold up a slightly less expensive counterspell, something like a Neutralize or a Commit to Memory if possible. So some of the other slightly suboptimal choices that I made for the sake of fun are the 2 Fae of Wishes, which I don't think belongs in the best version of this deck, but is a bit of fun for me. And the other one that I think is a little bit different from the normal lists that you've seen is the choice of Sphinx's Rev, another very underplayed card right now. This card choice was inspired by my favorite Twitch streamer, Covert Go Blue. You should check him out on Twitch if you don't already. And he, earlier this week, built an historic Blue-White Control deck that had 4 Sphinx's Rev and a bunch of one-of answers to try to really get the opponent when they're expecting one thing, he's going to throw another at them. So it was a very fun video to watch, and so I put a one-of Sphinx's Rev as a nod to that deck in the video for today. The other slightly suboptimal choice that is also a bit of a concession to best of one is Elspeth Sun's Nemesis. It is really important to have some kind of a board presence in best of one. In addition to the Elspeth making tokens, we also have a one-of Shark Typhoon that we can either cycle to make a shark, which is most of the time what we're going to do, or sometimes you may even play out the Shark Typhoon as the enchantment to be able to rack up a bunch of tokens over time. The other choice that I think I made here that was slightly different than most of the Blue-White Control decks I've seen this week, I'm running a one-of Mystic Sanctuary to be able to get back Approach if it happens to end up in our graveyard. I'm also running a 1 of Interplanar Beacon just to gain some life, and then a 1 of Blast Zone, a 2 of Raugrin Triome just to get the cycling ability so it's not a dead draw later in the game, and the rest of the mana base is fairly stock. I am not running the full 4 Teferi Hero of Dominaria. This is, I'm sure, a suboptimal choice, but the reason for doing that is I wanted to get a Teferi Master of Time in here just to test it out and see how it does in Historic, if it's a Historic playable card. So that's a 1 of. And then the other 1 of that we have here that is a bit of a surprising card, one that I saw in both Gabriel Nassif's deck, his Blue Eye Control deck, and his Bant Control deck run this, but I also saw it in Thierry Ramboa's Bant Control deck that he took all the way to number 1 Mythic this week. So a very different type of choice, but keep in mind, you're not trying to cast this on turn 4. You never want to tap out on 4 to play this card. That's not something that you're going to be doing. Most of the time what you're going to do is you're going to play this with Counterspell backup, and hopefully you're going to be able to hold up that counter on your opponent's turn after you play this. And then what this does for us is it makes all of our cyclers into draw 2, discard 1. And it also makes our Teferi Master of Time +1 ability now makes us draw 2 and discard 1. And we also get to draw 2 off of this card. And so it really supercharges the draw in our deck. If we have this out and we have Second Sun in our deck, 7th from the top, it's going to come to us very quickly because despite only drawing 1 card at the beginning of our turn, we're going to be drawing multiple cards throughout the rest of our turn. And sometimes we could draw as many as 3 or 4 cards in 1 turn using this card. So the last thing that I'll show you is the wish board. These are always very finicky and difficult to put together. But mine, if I'm in blue with Fae of Wishes, which I always am, I have a Mass Manipulation, a Finale of Revelation, a Heliod's Intervention, Emergency Powers, which is kind of a bit of a stretch for us to cast this, but who knows, maybe someday. And then another approach in case we lose our first one, Time Wipe, ECD, Jace Wielder of Mysteries in case we're about to deck. A second Wrath here, aside from the Time Wipe, we even have another Shatter. A Veto, a Disdainful Stroke, Rest in Peace for Graveyard Hate, Devout Decree to kill the red decks, the creatures like their Hazoret, or Grafdigger's Cage against Citadel or against Rakdos Pyromancer, and then Tormod's Crypt is a 0 mana piece of Graveyard Hate, so we can actually run this out on 4 mana, right? We just play our Fae, go grab this, and exile the opponent's graveyard real quick. So we can get rid of a Kroxa or an Uro for 4 mana with our Fae of Wishes, using the Tormod's Crypt. So that is Blue-White Control. So we're going to move to our first game on the ranked ladder with Second Sun Control, our slightly suboptimal Blue-White Control deck. Let's have some fun. Yeah, I think there are a few slightly questionable choices in this deck, but again, the idea is just we're trying to have some fun with Blue Eye Control since it's back on the menu with the banning of Field of the Dead in Historic. A number of really talented players have taken this deck pretty high on the ladder. I know Chris Kavartek, for one, was hovering right around number 1 in the top 10 even on the Mythic ladder with Blue Eye Control, although obviously he has a slightly more optimized deck and not making some of the strange choices that we made, but hey, we're here to have fun. Alright, so it looks like our opponent is a slightly higher rank than us. We're at tier 2 and they're on tier 1. Yeah, I think this is a keep. Interesting question here is, do we shock ourselves to be able to cycle the sensor? Okay, we don't have to. Never mind. Alright, opponent looks to be on blue-white auras. Let's see what color they fetch here. Maybe a different Lurrus deck. Oh, holding priority here because I had a cycling ability. Nope, it looks like it's red-black Lurrus instead. So, yeah, it for sure is. So, Sensor actually doesn't look too bad, because they're probably going to tap out each turn. So I might actually hold on to it here and just shock in the Hollowed Fountain to be able to hold it up on their next turn. Yeah, they're going to go fetch red next turn and probably play a 2-drop or maybe even a 3-drop. We'll just hold on to it. Okay, we don't have to shock. So we'll maybe have to shock next turn, but we're good for now. Opponent's going to go fetch their red mana. See what they have in the yard here. Oh boy. Yeah, we're gonna be stuck here. I don't know that we're gonna be able to counter their claim if they have it. But we'll see. We must have red mana in hand then, since they didn't fetch it. Yep, there's their red mana. Looks like they have the Zendikar full arts. Very nice. Looking very choice. Those are much more relevant now than they were when they first came out, since we're getting Zendikar going in the next set. Yeah, there's the Peasy. Let's see what else they have for us. Probably more instants and sorceries, I would imagine. Maybe a Village Rites to get rid of the supplier and get their graveyard more full. The only way we have to exile their graveyard is our Fae of Wishes for Tormod's Crypt or another such card like a Grafdigger's Cage or something, but we don't main deck those things. Although, honestly, Grafdigger's Cage has been fantastic in the format right now. So, alright, well, they're going to fill up their yard even more. Oh, they got a Archfiend's Vessel, was that? Yeah. Okay, so that's a problem as well. Yeah, okay. Well, we're in a bit of trouble here. Counterspells are not going to do the job, so we're just going to pray that Wrath saves us. And we'll hold up Censor just in case they tap out for something, which they probably won't. And Wrath them next turn and fill up their graveyard. Probably mill a Croxa when we Wrath them. Yeah, this is not looking good for us. Alright, well, our counterspells are not doing much, so that's unfortunate. But okay, well, they tapped out for that at least. So we can get rid of that. And then we'll Wrath their board by our next turn. They'll mill 6 cards, and we'll be in trouble again probably pretty quickly, but okay, well, we don't have to shock for it, so we'll just do this, and then this. Hopefully we can get on board with the Typhoon and maybe do a little bit better for ourselves. The opponent's a little constrained on mana right now. Hopefully they miss another land drop here. It doesn't seem likely, but it could happen. Otherwise, they're probably just going to get Lurrus to hand, would be my guess. And then we'll hold up counter for Lurrus. A Croxa. Yeah, we're going to let that resolve, and we'll probably discard a Pact. Discard Pact of Negation, since it's not doing much for us anyway. Alright. Do we shock here? I think we want to conserve our life total as much as possible, since the opponent is trying to take us down that way. So we'll just hold up our neutralize and see what we can get. We also have Pact of Negation if it comes to that, but I don't think it will. And if they don't do anything, then we just end of turn cycle the Typhoon and make a 2/2, which can be dangerous. I know these lists occasionally run shock. Okay, Croxa is probably incoming. We'll get that with the neutralize. Yeah, we can get that with the neutralize too. Okay, so here's where we have a choice. Do we want to go get the cage? I think we do, right? Because we get the cage, that turns off their Luris as well, and they really can't win at that point. So cage down, and then we have the pact up for their next turn if they want to try to do something about the cage. We can pact whatever they hold to destroy artifacts, which I don't think they main deck any artifact removal, but we'll see. We'll see. Yep, here comes Luris, right down Luris Lane. Okay, that's a pretty good draw for us. Do we want to cycle? I don't think so. So we've got Sphinx's Rev for 2, or Typhoon, or we've got the Pact up. Yeah, the cage kind of shuts down your whole deck, doesn't it? I mean, you can play Luris, but I can't do much for you. Alright, do we Pact? They can't haste it. We could just Wrath it. Oh, okay. Never mind. Opponent has decided that the game is ending. So, Cage is really good against that deck. That was the deck that I played last week in the feature, and it's a fantastic deck. But the problem is, once Blue-White Control gets set up against you, even just getting to 5 mana here, I'm not really in a very assailable position, and the Cage just turns off everything that they do. So game really was well and truly over when the Cage came down, and they don't have anything main deck to get rid of it. No Embereth, Shield Breaker, no Abrade, no Smelt was available to the opponent. So, very good one. We'll move to the next match. Now we'll play our second game with Second Sun Control. I'm enjoying the deck quite a bit. I think Pact of Negation adds a lot to it, and really, Pact of Negation, just playing it fairly without even having the Gideon, which we do actually have in our opening hand here, just playing it fairly and paying the 5 is just fine. Yeah, I think we'll keep this. This has everything we need. This will make our fortress come in untapped, so seems fine. Blue-White Mirror. Nice. Glacial Fortress, say go. Alright, we're going to cycle this end of turn. Lots of land, that's good. We want to hit our land drops this match. Are they holding up 3 mana counterspell? They probably are. Let's not play Gideon on 3 then. And we'll just see what they do. Okay, nothing. They are not holding up counter there, so it's good for us. Not ready to run out anything just yet, so we're going to just pass it off to our opponent and hope to be able to commit their Teferi, Hero of Darmanaria. Okay, nope, they're not going to play that. Not going to fall into our trap. Now this time we can play Gideon, Emblem, and we won't have to pay for the Pact of Negation, so let's back it up that way. Beginning of our next upkeep, so yeah, we can even protect with it here. Alright, so let's see if this resolves. It probably won't, but we have the Pact to force it through if they... Oh, hello. That's pretty good. Emblem.
This is a plane worth saving. You
And
should quit now.
And now we have Pact of Negation where we don't have to pay for it. Okay, no Borrower, no Borrower, no Brazen Borrower, no Flash Creature. Okay, Sphinx is Rev for 2. Do we censor? Yeah, I think we do. We're still holding up the Pact, so we have another counterspell here for them. And then we try to resolve our own Teferi next turn. Yep. Did you hold up the dispute? You did not. No mystical dispute to get us there. We don't have to pay here. We decline. We go here. No. Let's see, we have access to how much? We'll have 3 open after? Okay, that's interesting. Yeah, let's just attack here.
Not if I can help it.
Yeah, I think we gotta do it. Even though we're gonna be kind of naked, unless we draw counterspell here.
I won't hide from the world any longer. We need to move quickly.
No, okay. So, let's see what our opponent does on their turn. Cycles a card before we untap. Now, they don't know that we're not holding anything here, but we're not, so they can do whatever the heck they want. Yeah, okay, they're on Teferi, sure. We will commit that on our next turn. They're going to tuck ours.
Let's skip to the good part.
Okay. Before it's my turn, I want to cycle this land. Okay, Narset's really good. So, land, Narset. Well, let's draw first, maybe. Now, they could be holding up something like Settle, so attacking with Gideon is not great here. Okay, that's excellent. We want that very much. Narset. Yeah, that's fine. Now we know that they're not holding up a Settle or anything like that. So do we attack with Gideon and bring him to 1? Or do we just commit and get rid of it altogether? Well, we won't be able to hold up our counterspell that way, so I think we're going to attack.
You hold no power.
Seeing how good Gideon can be here in the control mirror. And then we'll hold up the neutralize and the commit on their turn.
Do you want me to phase you out of time?
Untap a couple. Sure, like that. We don't have both up, but we have either or. I'm not going to commit in response to that. I want to see what they're going to do first. Okay, they're going to opt? Sure. We'll commit to Fairy EOT just so that they can get rid of all their card draw effects here. Since they want to opt main phase. And then, yep, right there. In response, we'll do this. Now they're probably going to counter this. We'll see. If they do, it's not a big deal. We still have the... Okay, does in fact resolve, and then we're not going to cycle neutralize. They're going to just untap their 1 land. And now we're going to start clocking them with Gideon, I think, because we have a couple of neutralize up.
You know what?
Don't know if we're going to try to resolve the Master of Time here. I don't think so. It doesn't seem entirely prudent, but we'll see how I'm feeling after this attack. Do they have the Settle? Or something like that? Let's see. They definitely have it. I mean, it's holding. Okay, yeah, they're going to cycle that. Sure. There's not much we can do about that. Well, the Gideon's indestructible, though, right? So, not the biggest of big deals. Can figure out a way to deal with that. Maybe we'll get something to deal with it with the Fae of Wishes, although it's not ideal. Okay, yep, we got a big shark. Got it. Well, we can play Teferi, and then... Oh, we can Wrath of God even. Well, we'll just phase it out, I think.
All right. Who's ready for a good time?
Alright, double Wrath. Then let's get rid of one of them, because I don't think we're going to need it too much more often. End the turn. Untap here and here. And we'll hold up neutralize on their turn. Going to use their Typhoon to attack with, of course. Where are they going to direct their attacks? We'll figure that out. Probably at Big Teferi, right? Oh, interesting. At the Master of Time, I see. Well, then he's just going to take it for the team here. Oh, that's an interesting draw. Let's get rid of one of the neutralize. Sure, we have another one. That tells the opponent not to try to resolve their Teferi, but whatever. And then next turn we'll just approach and...
I I've
untap a
learned my
couple
lesson.
lands. ECD. With counterspell backup, I'm guessing. Let's try to neutralize it, but it's probably not going to work. Okay, so here comes their counter of my counter. Yep, got it. And then that gets rid of our Teferi, I think. Right. Now, they did tap out, so this means we get to resolve. Yeah, it's getting rid of our Teferi. Sure.
That didn't go according to plan.
Okay, so we need to resolve approach here. Let's do this on here, because we're not going to be doing our wrath until the following.
Let's do this.
Okay, so approach. And 7th from the top. And here we are. Interesting. So I think our opponent's going to resolve Teferi here. That's going to take the majority of their turn. But we have a pretty interesting clock on them.
I won't hide from the world any longer.
Resolves. Now we can try to Fey or try to... Oh, okay, so we're going to resolve that and decline the shuffle. No, we can't decline the shuffle. Okay, excellent. Well, we just declined getting a land for no reason then. Okay, great. Well, it's not going very well for us at this point. But we can Fey for the other approach. Alright, so let's prevent damage here. Let's go 6 mana. Oof, 6 mana. Good lord. Yeah, the tax part of Elspeth Conquers Death is very, very painful for us here. We'll grab our other approach and see if we can resolve it. I don't think we can, but if we draw a land, we might have... No, we won't. Okay, never mind. That was a mistake. So then we're just going to cycle Censor here. Alright, return next to Fairy. Sure. Kind of a net neutral there. Comes in with the extra loyalty. Yep, you're going to plus your Teferi, get another counterspell. We're in rough shape.
We need to move quickly.
Gideon, still hanging out. Not sure why. Opponent has not figured out how to remove Gideon yet. But they're getting there. They're working on it. Just working on that Teferi emblem mostly. That'll take care of it. Alright, so cycle this before it gets to my turn. Okay. So what do we do here? Well, I guess we try to resolve approach, but it's almost certain not to resolve. Let's maybe do this instead. Here, and I don't know. Maybe if we just start making creatures, it'll work out better for us. I don't know what to do here at all. Can we put 4 counters on the blast zone? 1, 2, 3, 4. No, we're 1 land short of doing that. Not a good way to remove this Teferi, and they're certainly holding counter magic right now. I think I'm just going to go for the Wrath. Doesn't matter how we tap here. Okay, we're going to let that resolve. And then we'll put down the Fey. Which they'll probably Wrath away on our turn, on their turn rather, but we'll see. Alright, so they're going to scry with their castle. Long, grindy control mirror. A lot of decision points. Most of which I've done poorly. Yeah, okay, there's the borrower on that. Not surprising. Gideon's been hanging out too long, says the opponent. I wish they would have tapped out on their own turn, but they're certainly not going to do that. I They're scrying for counterspell, which they didn't have. I should have tried to resolve approach. I might have won. Alright, so they're going to put their counterspell to the top and draw it with Teferi. Oh no, they just drew it with their draw for turn. Okay.
No time for a break.
Our set's going to cut off our draw here. They're going to reveal something to us. Let's see what it is. We're really looking for counterspell backup. Alright, so we're not going to be able to pay that, but if we had grabbed our... Ugh, it's so annoying. If we had grabbed our land when we should have, then we would be able to pay for the Supreme Will here. Which they certainly have another one in their hand as well. They don't just have Supreme Will, it's the one that they revealed. Alright, so we're going to try to resolve our Gideon again. It's probably going to happen. Yep. I'm going to go here and make this deal no damage to us. And then, what else? We don't have a lot of options here. I think we're just going to lose to the Teferi emblem. But we'll let our opponent have the joy of doing that. So, see how they choose to finish the game here. We've certainly lost at this point. Perhaps because of not being aggressive enough with the approach and just trying to resolve it. But, I don't know, it felt kind of silly without having my own counterspell backup to try to resolve approach here. They had all of their mana open, although their behavior kind of indicated, the way they were scrying with the castle and everything, kind of indicated that they didn't have it at the end of my turn, but I didn't know that at the time, so I guess it's just kind of 50-50 shot, and I made the wrong choice. So opponent's going to get to emblem their Teferi the turn after next. Here they're going to scry again, set up a perfect draw. Okay, both to the bottom. Yep, just a handful of counters, and here's some more.
Meditate and prepare.
Okay, seems kind of weird. Oh, okay, they get to activate it twice because they untap it with the fairy. Yikes. Opponent is wondering why we're still playing, and that's why they're taking so long to resolve that castle. Okay, so let's try attacking the Teferi, see what that does for us.
I've got you.
Play a land here. They're going to be able to block everything because of their castle being open again. But we are honor bound to try. Wait a second, they didn't make a... Oh my. I guess they were afraid to tap out for some reason. They're going to keep them off the emblem here. That's interesting. Alright, let's go Fae of Wishes, and what will we Fae for here? I don't know. Can we get for 6 mana? ECD is going to get countered. Ooh, a Dobby's Veto? Yeah, that's good here. And then next turn, if we're still alive, we can Second Sun with Veto. Alright, it's a line. It might not be a winning line, but it's a line. It's obviously also completely on board for our opponent, so not the greatest. And they do have multiple counterspells, so we actually also need multiple counterspells for this line to work out, which is probably not going to. Yeah. Okay, they don't do the double castle thing this time. That's interesting. I think in a response we'll do this. And then we'll have to attack Teferi again. Yeah, my turn. Okay, another counterspell is a good draw. That might actually help us out a lot. Alright, so let's make him a creature. Now they can make one blocker here. They can't make two. Unless they have another, well, maybe they have another borrower. That's what their angle is here. Alright, so both at Teferi, and we get borrowered. Oh, opponent is running low on mana. This is good for us. We should be able to hopefully take advantage here. How many mana are we at? 3, 6, 9, 10. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Ah, okay, we're one short of being able to censor as well. Alright, so resolve this. Teferi takes a bit of a hit. Okay, let's see how we do this. Opponent has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 mana available, so both of the visible counterspells are up. And we are one short. Do we wait one more turn? So we can have both up? Right? Because 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, we need to have 11. Darn it. Darn it, darn it, darn it. Yeah, we'll try to wait one more turn, I guess. Boy, having the ability to play at instant speed with 3 fairy would be really great here. We could maybe have more success when they tap out with castle, but as it is, it's a bit of a chess match. We need one more mana,
We need to move quickly.
be able to resolve what we want to resolve, and we're just one short. So that could be the difference between winning and losing here. Yeah, resolves. Cast out on Gideon. Yeah. Okay, so that's a 4. We can put 3 counters on our blast zone and get it back. But then that puts us down mana, which we don't want to be. Okay, also not doing the thing with castle again to make extra creatures. And let's put a couple counters on this at least. Just use our mana here, since the opponent has decided to end the turn. Alright, there's the land we need, but we're in a much different position this time. Let's at least put it down, and let's get busy onto Fairy. Now, when they tap out to protect, they'll still have both counters up, and we won't have our 2 counters that we need. Alright, 1, 2, both at Teferi. Please don't emblem us. Please don't tase me, bro. Please don't emblem me, bro. Alright, so here. Okay, for some reason they let it go through.
To phase you out of time?
And then I guess we'll play the Fae, because why not? Steadily gaining back board position, but our opponent has a huge mana advantage, so I don't think it's really going to be overcomable in the long term. Shall see. Opponent puts 2 to the bottom. I thought I was dead several turns ago, so this is all quite unimagined by me.
Let's skip to the good part.
Opponent has 23 cards in deck. I have 31. Opponent wraths. Sure. That goes down, yeah. That's both of our Fae of Wishes, right? Yeah. Okay, so they're gonna do their thing. Let's make a dude. Put one more counter on Blast Zone. Now opponent's gonna try to double castle us next turn. Yeah, we're pretty far out of this. Alright, well, they probably have more counterspells than we do at this point. But I don't know. Let's just try to resolve this and find more. Maybe we'll be able to somehow resolve another approach. Okay, that eats an absorb, fine. Oh, opponent. Oh, opponent. I think we just won. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, if we tap right, we can win here. We're gonna go for it after our turn here. Oh, come on. Maybe they have their own Dovin's Veto? I guess that would be the other way that we could lose here. Alright, let's make sure we tap right. So here, 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 here. White, blue, approach. Now opponent's going to go to counter this with a Dovin's Veto, and we have nothing to say about it. Alright, well that's going to be game then. Resolve all. Let's just concede. There's no point in waiting for the emblem to finish us. Next game. It's time for our next match with blue-white control. Sure, seems like a fine opener. Again, we'll use the irrigated farmlands plains island type to make the glacial fortress come in untapped, which is nice. Get a tap land out of the way and also get our glacial fortresses coming in the right way. And then cycle Censor our next turn. Alright, looks to be some kind of Is It Prowess build, so our Wrath of Gods are pretty good here. See how good our Censor is. Probably not all that good. Alright, cycle Censor, end of turn, and then play Narset into Wrath of God. I don't know if opponent is going to go after Narset, but if they do, it's much to our benefit. Narset often has the effect of just gain life. Alright, so revealing the counterspell is not great, but there it is. And then next turn we Wrath into hold up Pact of Negation the following turn. Great, okay. At least she ate some burn for us.
Still have much to learn.
Got it. That'll just easily take a Wrath next turn. We'll get a couple of damage, take 4 damage here, go to 15. And then Wrath their board the following turn. They like one of them, but they bottom the other one. Alright, so Wrath of God comes down here. And then unless we draw an untapped land next turn, we're going to Raugrin Triome into hold up Pact if they're our lot in life not to draw another land. Okay, sure. That happens. We can also Wrath next turn if it is necessary. Sure. Alright, so to attack us for at least 3, maybe more. So I'm imagining they have another cantrip here. No? Okay. Shock maybe? No? Okay. In that case, we will Raugrin Triumph, Wrath of God, Hold Up Pact. Sure, we'll pack that. Auto pay. Next. Now the opponent's a little bit low on cards here, so let's see what they do to get more. Yep, an opt, sure. Certainly not worth a pact. They didn't like it, they bottomed it and drew an unknown card. Played a, what was that, a Ramanop Ruins and passed? Sure. Alright, so what we do here is we play Teferi, and then we hold up Pact and Censor. And this should turn the game pretty heavily in our favor.
We need to move quickly.
Teferi gonna eat some burn here, maybe? I don't know. Alright, opponent, what you got? Sure. Let's think. Do we let that resolve? No. No, I don't think we do. Now, if they have Counterspell, we can Censor, but it would have to be a 3-mana counter to work. Yeah, okay. So we're going to spend much of our next turn doing that. Hopefully we draw a land so we can also play Azcanta. Yes, we will auto-pay that. We do not want to lose the game. Alright, so then we can play Azcanta and still have Censor up, although Censor is pretty bad. I might even just play the Fae as a 1/4 here and just block and protect our life total, since they have a hasted Sprite Dragon. Oh, okay, well then no, we'll just Censor this. We don't want to lose that much life. Thank you, though. Thank you for trying to kill us with burn.
Keep up the pace.
Not going to work out very well for the opponent. Now we do control the requisite number of islands, which is fun, to be able to get back one of our pacts here. And the opponent's had enough. Yeah, I think we're just the slightly better position here, having hit all of our land drops. Our opponent was definitely missing a land drop here and there, and that can be a big difference. Also, just drawing the 2 Wrath of God kind of made their early creatures kind of die out, and then we just had Counterspell, Counterspell, Counterspell for everything they had, so that will do it. On to the next game. And it's on to our next game with Second Sun Control. I'll keep it. It has the requisite number of lands, let's say. I don't know. It's not great. It's kind of a lot of air, isn't it? But if we're playing aggro, which, you know, the Boris sleeves which suggests we're playing aggro, we can just play the Fae as a 1/4 blocker, and that's decent enough. Alright, so let's Raugrin into Glacial Fortress Fae of Wishes. Yeah, we're going to want to play our Fae of Wishes as a 1/4 for sure here. This 1/4 is going to give the red deck a lot of trouble. Okay, so far it's just mono red, and the castle indicates, okay, goblin deck, got it. So Wrath is really good. Fae is doing work for us here. And let's just say pass the turn with no attacks. And then we'll look to Wrath maybe next turn, depending on what our opponent's board state looks like. Okay, so that's going to be getting through, because stupid treasure token. Darn it. I should have forced them to sack it, maybe, just to keep them off the mana. But I kind of like cycling the 2 Censors and then seeing what we can see. No attacks for our opponent. Okay, so now cycle. And cycle. Because these are going to be next to useless for us. Now what we really mostly want is to be able to Fae of Wishes for Cage. But we can't do that until next turn. I don't think they're able to play Muxus next turn, though, because they're only going to be on 5 mana maximum. Well, if they play a Phyrexian Tower, then it's a different story, isn't it? I think we've got to take that risk. and just maybe wait until next turn to go get the Fae. To use the Fae to go get the cage to prevent Muxus's ETB from working. Yeah, okay, it wasn't a tower, so we're spared that. Now, unless they have a prospector here, we can just wrath the board and be in good shape. Alright, Chieftain is not a great look. I'm going to lean toward wrathing next turn. Yeah, okay. Attack you for 6. We wrath the board, they play Muxus, we're in bad shape. This is just not good all around. Narset, you're not a great help here, but thanks for trying. Yeah, I think we just have to wrath, even though I don't really want to. Let's get in the attack first, why not? The old Wrath of God attack first strategy. Alright, now do we throw the Fae out there? We can't, right? Because we need it to be able to... Well, we're just in bad shape here, unless they don't hit their land, which seems unlikely. They run a lot of lands. Yeah, okay, here's Muxus then. Alright, bad hits, please. Bad hits is all we can hope for now. Nope, they hit pretty well. Alright, looks like we're just dead. Yeah, I mean, that's going to be a lot of what happens with blue-white control, right? Is you just die to mono-red aggro all the time. Do we draw end of turn? I don't think we do. I think we just try to go for the wrath with Narset. Yeah, because we'll have enough if we hit it, but I don't know that we'll hit it.
If you wish to surrender now,
One time.
keep an open
Ah,
mind.
nothing. Alright, well, that's just game, so let's concede. And now it's time for the next game with Second Sun control. No, I don't think so. Okay. Keep it. Put back the Second Sun. Hopefully see that later. Looks like we're playing against Bant control. Play out our tap land. This is the sort of a similar... Oh, never mind. Sultai. Sure, this is something that Andre Mengucci's been piloting a lot lately. It's like a Sultai Nissa deck, basically. Alright, so Thoughtseize. Sure, take our Wrath. Wrath or Neutralize are the two things they're thinking about here, but they're going to take Wrath, I think. Yeah. Let's just play the island and say go. Hopefully be able to get a Cultivate or something here. Nope, opponent's just going to say go. Alright, we're 1 mana away from the Pact. We'll hold up our Neutralize when the opponent gets to end of turn here. Do they have the Shark Typhoon? They do have it. Yep. Alright, so this Neutralize hopefully gets a Nissa. No, they're not going to play into it. Sure. Makes sense. Alright, so more controlling version with Search. They have counter magic to come back at us? No. And they missed their land drop, which is excellent for us. Yeah, let's get rid of the land that they know about, and then next turn we have Packed Up. Sure. Yep, they need to hit land drop, so cycling that makes a lot of sense. Attack us for 2. There's land drop. There's Nissa. Here's counter. Auto pay. Tap land. Say go. One more pact between us and certain death. Does the opponent have the third Nissa? We shall find out. Okay. Play tap land, say go. Nope, just in a row. Alright, well, it's a little bit better than getting the third Nissa thrown at our face. Alright, opponent's land troubles are over. They attack us for 2 again. We don't have to pay for a Pact of Negation here, which is something new and different. Oh, no, they got our Narset. Alright, well, that's game. I mean, sure, if you really want it. Now here comes Uro, and the game is over. So we wound up 2-4 in our run at Platinum Tier 2 with Second Sun Control. I feel like I had basically exactly the luck I deserved building a very greedy deck like this, and I was definitely impressed by Pact of Negation most of all. I think that was one thing I'll come away from this with, is that Pact of Negation is very strong even if you're just playing it as a fair card. The ability to tap out, counter something on their turn, and then just spend your whole turn paying for the Pact is still pretty powerful, and it's a very strong counterspell and an interesting addition to the historic format. I think otherwise our suite of Planeswalkers was just too greedy and didn't quite get the job done in an aggro-focused best of one metagame. Although, of course, we did lose the 25-minute mirror match to the other blue-white control deck, which was clearly built a lot better than our deck. Main decking Dovin's Veto was a huge advantage in that game for the opponent. So that's Second Sun Control. I hope you enjoyed watching the video this week. Please like, subscribe to the channel, and come back next week for our next installment of the Historic Weekly feature. This is Evil Empire signing off.